speakers talk, articulate, it excites the mind.
Premier literary event of the country.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here.
It is an amazing collection of
wonderful talks, great conversations.
Chennai is a city of book lovers. It's one of the biggest markets.
It's truly kind of a forum for free expression, which is very much needed in this country.
I think Lit for Life is wonderful.
That's how language happens. I mean, it comes from the people.
Other speakers talk, articulate, it excites the mind.
Premier literary event of the country.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here.
it is an amazing collection of
Wonderful talks, great conversations.
Chennai is a city of book lovers. It's one of the biggest markets.
It's truly kind of a forum for free expression, which is very much needed in this country.
I think Lit for Life is wonderful.
That's how language happens. I mean, it comes from the people.
Other speakers talk, articulate, it excites the mind.
Premier literary event of the country.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here.
it is an amazing collection of
Wonderful talks, great conversations.
Chennai is a city of book lovers. It's one of the biggest markets.
It's truly kind of a forum for free expression, which is very much needed in this country.
I think Lit for Life is wonderful.
That's how language happens. I mean, it comes from the people.
other speakers talk, articulate, it excites the mind.
Premier literary event of the country.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here.
it is an amazing collection of
wonderful talks, great conversations.
Chennai is a city of book lovers. It's one of the biggest markets.
It's truly kind of a forum for free expression, which is very much needed in this country.
I think Lit for Life is wonderful.
That's how language happens. I mean, it comes from the people.
Hearing other speakers talk, articulate, it excites the mind.
Premier literary event of the country.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here.
it is an amazing collection of
Wonderful talks, great conversations.
Chennai is a city of book lovers. It's one of the biggest markets.
It's truly kind of a forum for free expression, which is very much needed in this country.
I think Lit for Life is wonderful.
That's how language happens. I mean, it comes from the people.
Hearing other speakers talk, articulate, it excites the mind.
Premier literary event of the country.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here.
it is an amazing collection of
Wonderful talks, great conversations.
Chennai is a city of book lovers. It's one of the biggest markets.
It's truly kind of a forum for free expression, which is very much needed in this country.
I think Lit for Life is wonderful.
That's how language happens. I mean, it comes from the people.
other speakers talk, articulate, it excites the mind.
Premier literary event of the country.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here.
It is an amazing collection of
Wonderful talks, great conversations.
Chennai is a city of book lovers. It's one of the biggest markets.
It's truly kind of a forum for free expression, which is very much needed in this country.
I think Lit for Life is wonderful.
That's how language happens. I mean, it comes from the people.
Hearing other speakers talk, articulate, it excites the mind.
Premier literary event of the country.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here.
it is an amazing collection of
Wonderful talks, great conversations.
Chennai is a city of book lovers. It's one of the biggest markets.
It's truly kind of a forum for free expression, which is very much needed in this country.
I think Lit for Life is wonderful.
That's how language happens. I mean, it comes from the people.
Hearing other speakers talk, articulate, it excites the mind.
Premier literary event of the country.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here.
it is an amazing collection of
Wonderful talks, great conversations.
Chennai is a city of book lovers. It's one of the biggest markets.
Which is very much needed in this country.
I think Lit for Life is wonderful.
That's how language happens. I mean, it comes from the people.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hyderabad edition of the Hindu Lit for Life Dialogue, an initiative dedicated to celebrating literature, ideas, and spirited dialogue with some of the most brilliant minds in literature, politics, and culture. We are privileged to host this event in association with Christ University, Bangalore. We're also grateful to Crossword for coming on board as our bookstore partner. Before we begin, may I request everyone to ensure that your mobile phones are on silent mode for the entire duration of the event. Thank you. We will begin this evening with a special video message from Ms. Nirmala Lakshman, chairperson of the Hindu group and founder and chair of the Hindu Lit for Life. Can we have the video message, please?
Shubha Sayankalam. Welcome to the Hindu Lit for Life Dialogue. For the first time, we have come to the historic city of Hyderabad, bringing this event as a prelude to our annual literature festival, Lit for Life, to be held in Chennai in January 2025. It's an exciting chapter for us as we build on our relationship with the people of this city, bringing distinguished writers, creative thinkers, and inspiring intellectuals to interact with an engaged audience. Lit for Life is a festival that celebrates ideas through literature, art, and culture. And in the 13 years of existence, we have had several thousands of people attend and enjoy the festival. In our efforts, we reflect some of the most deeply ingrained values of the Hindu, that of truth, credibility, and inclusiveness. I'm very grateful to you all for making the time to come, and I'm sure this dialogue in Hyderabad will be the first of many in the times ahead that will allow the Hindu and Lit for Life to showcase and communicate to an engaged audience some of the best talents in the country today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for setting the perfect tone for this evening's discussion. I'd now like to invite on stage Mr. Suresh Balakrishna, Chief Revenue Officer of the Hindu Group, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Akhila. And wow, I must say I'm happily surprised. When we were organizing this Litfa dialogue in Hyderabad, I called up my team in the Hyderabad office and I said, please ensure there's a packed house. And boy, I didn't know they would take me so literally. But I can see people standing out there. Thank you everybody for landing up here. On a weekday, to land up in such numbers, thank you once again. On behalf of the Hindu Group, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of y'all to the Hindu Lit for Life Dialogue. You heard the curator and the director and the person who's conceptualized this festival, our chairperson Nirmala Lakshman, talk to you about the Hindu Lit for Life. It's always been more than just a literature festival. With over a decade of rich legacy under its belt, it's become a place where the power of words collides with the spark of ideas. Sure, books are at the heart of it, but we don't leave out art, music, drama, cinema, theater. It's all there, and it's been there now for close to 11 years. This is the first time that we are taking the Hindu Lit for Life physically out of Chennai, and we have added 2 legs to it. As a prelude to our Hindu Lit for Life in Chennai, which is happening on January 18th and 19th, and I'm extending an invite to everybody in this room, come to Chennai. It's only the cost of the flight, but it'll be 2 wonderful days, I promise you, on 18th and 19th of January at the Lady Andal School in Chennai. It has always been a festival that's looked out for by Chennaiites, and some people from Bangalore and Hyderabad also turn up. This time we are hoping, now that we have done a leg in Hyderabad, and incidentally we are doing the other leg in Bangalore next weekend. We are having similar luminaries having sessions with us and trying to give you a teaser of what you can expect at the Lit for Life in Chennai. And we have 55 speakers at Chennai on those 2 days, more than 42 sessions. We have workshops for young adults, for children, and this edition promises to be bigger and bolder. And we have 2 interesting sessions today, and that's the good part about even each of these dialogues. It's been curated with a lot of care to make sure that we give you the best of the Chennai festival in these two cities, that is Hyderabad and Bangalore. And we have two exceptional sessions. The first one is titled The Political Circus, which will feature some of the most prominent voices in politics and journalism. We are honored to have with us senior journalists whom we meet every day on television. Rajdeep Sardesai, thanks Rajdeep for making it all the way to Hyderabad. Political commentator Neerja Chowdhury, thank you so much, ma'am. And of course, our own Telangana Pradesh Congress Committee President and MLC, Mr. Mahesh Kumar Goud. Thank you, sir, for taking out the time from a very busy year that you have had so far in government, and I'm sure another very busy 4 years to go, to take out the time and come here. And this session, this highly volatile session, hopefully, will be moderated by Swathi Vadlamudi, Senior Assistant Editor at The Hindu. Thank you, Swathi, for doing this for us. But I'm sorry, Neerja and Rajdeep, the second session is going to be a slightly more mouth-watering prospect, because the second session is about the joy of food and will be a delightful exploration of the rich cultural tapestry of food. Esteemed food writer Ruth DSouza Prabhu, whom I saw this morning, I think landed because I saw her placard at the Hyderabad airport, so she's landed this morning. And renowned restaurateur Gauri Devidayal will take us on the sensory journey through the world of flavors. The session will be moderated by Prabalika Borah, Senior Assistant Editor at The Hindu, Hyderabad. Thank you. All this will be followed by high tea. I have curated the menu myself, incidentally, for the high tea. And it's an exciting menu, so I'd request all of you all to stay back after the two sessions. It's that wonderful time, 6:30, 6:45, when anyway it will take you an hour to get home. So it's a good time to have a snack and go home. So please do stay back. The Hindu Lit for Life, ladies and gentlemen, stands apart from other literary festivals in India, not only for its depth of its conversations, but for its purpose. Our intention is clear: to transcend the boundaries of typical literature festival and create a space where diverse voices, perspectives, and genres converge. Our aim is to empower audiences with knowledge, inclusivity, and the skills needed to be a part of these larger conversations. Before I close, I must thank people who have already come on board as partners for the Lit for Life. Christ University, Bangalore. Incidentally, the Bangalore leg is actually being held at the Christ University's fancy new auditorium, which they have inaugurated a week ago, and this is going to be the first event that's going to be held at the Christ University auditorium, newly done up auditorium next week. And to our book partner, Crossword, for being partners with us. And to each one of you in this room, thank you so much once again for being here. Let's enjoy the next hour and a half of some stimulating dialogues, and let's start some dialogues of our own. Welcome to the Hindu Lit for Life dialogue. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Balakrishna, for that very warm welcome address. I know Mr. Balakrishna already introduced the two sessions, but I'm going to invite the panelists on stage. Our first session is titled The Political Circus, a conversation discussion on the dynamic and often dramatic world of Indian politics. Our speakers are Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, senior journalist, whose latest book is 2024, The Elections That Surprised India. Very warm welcome to you. Neerja Chowdhury, senior journalist, political commentator, and author of How Prime Ministers Decide. Very warm welcome to you, ma'am. And Shri B. Mahesh Kumar Goud, President, Telangana Pradesh Congress Committee and member of the Telangana Legislative Council. Very warm welcome to you, sir. This session will be moderated by Swathi V., Senior Assistant Editor, The Hindu. May I please invite the panelists on stage? Swathi, over to you.
Hello. Yeah. Very good evening and a warm welcome to you all. Frankly, it is intimidating for me to be holding this session with stalwarts like Rajdeep Sardesai and Neerja Chowdhury, who are exponents from my own field, and also Mahesh Kumar Goud, who is a seasoned politician. But I'm also hoping to gather some significant insights into the political situation in the country as of now from this session. The topic for today is political circus. It's kind of an obscure term, so let me simplify. The conversation here today will be structured around 2024 election outcomes and what they mean for India as a democracy and its pluralistic ethos and its politics and the very process of election. Without wasting much time, because we have very less time, without wasting much time, now I would invite Neerja to explain or rather demystify the Maharashtra election outcome for us. Neerja, like Mahavikas Aghadi, it seemed to have made significant gains in parliament elections. But within 6 months, its fortunes seem to have reversed. So could you take us through the whole thing? And
working? Is this working? Yes. Well, good evening, and I'm very delighted to be in Hyderabad. I can't tell you how happy I feel when I come to this city. And that the Hindu Lit Fest is now extending its spread. You know, we've grown over the years hearing about the Hindu Lit Fest and all that happens there in Chennai. Now that it's going to be in Hyderabad and in Bangalore, that's been wonderful news when we got to, and then to be invited to be part of this dialogue. Thank you very much. Rajdeep, of course, has done a book recently which is making waves. As much of what he does make waves every night.
For all the wrong reasons.
Not always, Rajdeep. You stand out as among the disappearing breed of journalists who stand for ethics and more in journalism. So I would say that, being much older than you and having seen you in action. So Rajdeep has written about the Lok Sabha elections in great detail and the very interesting, unexpected, can I stand up? Can I stand up because I'll be able to see people at the end. A very unexpected result when 400 plus was being talked about. It came down to 240 Lok Sabha seats for the BJP. I called it an Ankush election, where the people of India wanted to give the mandate to the BJP and the NDA, but wanted to rein them in that little bit. Zyada hi ho raha hai kuch. So a curb on the exercise of power. I saw it like that. And the reason was, to my mind, having traveled through the states, 4 states where the BJP did not do well, it was accidentally. I was, Uttar Pradesh is just before I come to Maharashtra, I'm making this point. Uttar Pradesh, where I feel the BJP did badly because of inner sabotage, because the RSS did not put its weight behind the BJP fully. And of course, the Dol Ladkas took off. and caught the imagination of the people as an alternative. Akhilesh Yadav and Rahul Gandhi team. And UP brought down the tally by 29 seats. So I think UP had to be looked at very specially in that. The point I want to make is, did we overread the 224 Lok Sabha elections? That the BJP had lost and the Congress was about to come to power. And that's not the way things happen in the elections that followed. Coming to Maharashtra is the question. Why? Maharashtra, the MVA got 30 Lok Sabha seats out of 48, and the BJP was reduced to 17, very unexpectedly. And there were two factors at work. One was sympathy for the MVA, particularly for Sharad Pawar and Uddhav Thackeray, because their parties had been split by the NDA and the BJP, and people felt injustice had been done to them. And there was a very effective axis, political axis, Maratha, Muslim and Dalit. This axis has been successful in the past elections and helped the Congress come to power, helped the NCP come to power, and it was very effective for a variety of reasons, also in the Lok Sabha elections. But in the assembly elections, it was completely the other way around. And the MVA was down to 49 seats, having lost, the BJP won in 117. It took away from the MVA. Anyway, forget the arithmetic aside. The long and short of it is that the BJP, and this is in the BJP's DNA, they course correct very quickly. They don't get demoralized. They don't lose an hour. And they get back to the drawing board. And they did that. And they put into motion what became a game changer according to me. And that is social welfare schemes, but particularly for women. The Ladki Bahin Yojana, which gave to women 1,500 rupees in their hands per month. And they operationalized it in 4 months. If any government can do this, and they did it very efficiently in Maharashtra, our governments can deliver anything. Because I did not meet, I traveled Marathwada, Mumbai, talked to women, villages, and I didn't meet a single woman who had not got 7,500 rupees in her hand for 5 months. And she was putting it to use. And, it's not like any other money that people get in their hand. In the hands of women, it almost, raised their stature in their own eyes, their autonomy, their independence.
You were talking about the Muslim Mahar and Maratha factor. It didn't work out for Congress?
Maratha factor got diluted. This worked. Women, I think women was the counter force cutting into everything else. Women voted, and there were 6% more women voted. They voted for the Mahayuti, and they said, we are voting for Eknath Shinde. Our husbands may vote for the Congress. We are voting for Eknath Shinde. But Maratha thing got diluted. The Marathas were against Fadnavis and the BJP, but they were not against Eknath Shinde. And that played out in Marathwada, for instance. So the Maratha Muslim Dalit axis was weakened, to put it very in brief terms. And Dalit also, I will say one more sentence and sit down, because we have very little time. And that is that, we've seen the empowerment of the OBCs over the decades. We've seen the empowerment of the Dalits, and the rise of Dalit youth, educated youth, who are very aspirational, is a story that's being played out. But we are now seeing the rise of women as a political force. And we will see it in state after state. And this played out in Maharashtra and led to the success of Mahayuti.
Yeah, it's very good to hear that women are coming as a constituency to influence political outcomes. So Rajdeep, do you have anything to add to it? And also I would like you to deconstruct Haryana results for us.
First of all, thank you very much. It's wonderful to be in Hyderabad, particularly at the Hindu, because the Hindu is the one newspaper that still respects books. I spoke to an editor of an English language newspaper to tell him that, why don't you review my book? And he said, we don't do book reviews. Almost as if writing about books is a sin. I won't mention the newspaper, we all know it. It comes into many of your doors and I wonder why anymore. It's the readers who are partly responsible, I think, for the plight that many of us find ourselves in. But, Maharashtra is one of my home states, so I'll very quickly just take off from where Neerja left off. The fact is, Neerja is right, the BJP course corrected. Mr. Goud is here. The truth of the matter is, the Congress and its allies slept this monsoon. You see, the worst thing is with the Congress is when it does well in an election. Because then it starts getting complacent and takes the voter for granted. Through the months of June, July, August, September, while the BJP was unveiling these welfare schemes, a lot of money, by the way, a lot of money thrown at people, not just 1,500 rupees per month to women, but Sarpanch's got money of a kind they've never seen in their lives. You had a resource-rich machine. On the other side, with due apologies to Mr. Goud, you had a party which already thought they had won. And therefore was now spending June, July, August, September deciding who will be chief minister, when they should have been among the people of the state. You see, politics is not just about how good the other side is, but how bad you can be at times. So I think Maharashtra in particular was a triumph, not just of gender power, which Neerja referred to rightly, but also money power. There is a huge amount of money that goes into elections now of a kind which is astronomical. Sarpanches were getting 1 crore to distribute. There are areas where they were willing to pay 5,000 rupees a vote. In one particular constituency, and I met the person yesterday, so it comes from the horse's mouth, he said, I did put 40 crores that I wanted to do just to get voters to vote for me. Now, I thought this happened only in your state, i.e. Telangana. But it is spreading. I thought Maharashtra, I was told before the election, that Maharashtrians will take the money but will vote for whoever they want. But that didn't quite happen. And I think partly that was the BJP's machine that worked relentlessly. The RSS did 60,000 meetings on the ground, often of just 50 people, 100 people, 200 people, but did it. The Congress, I'm afraid to say, slept through this election, in the belief that because they'd won in the Lok Sabha, they would also win Vidhan Sabha. No two elections in this country are ever the same, and that brings me to Haryana. My book is titled The Election That Surprised India. Frankly, Maharashtra didn't surprise me. Once I traveled, I could see where the wind was changing. I couldn't quite predict what would happen in the Lok Sabha. I was also carried away, and I mentioned this in my book, by the Modi momentum. The fact that Modi hai to mumkin hai can be, and his posters everywhere, difficult to believe that anyone could bring him down. He was brought down, and Neerja is right, by the voter more than even by the opposition. But the election that really surprised me was Haryana. You travel through Haryana and trust me, almost every journalist said the Congress is coming to power because there was genuine fatigue, if not anger, against the BJP. But the BJP fights to the last mile. And while the BJP fought to the last mile in Haryana, the Congress was fighting with itself. Again, between Bhupinder Singh Hooda and Kumari Shelja, you have two leaders openly, publicly squabbling with each other. You see, you can't do that anymore in politics. And I want to end with this, with an analogy to suggest how politics has changed. My great passion in life is cricket. And I liken what is happening in elections now to what Virat Kohli has done to cricket. My late father was a test cricketer for India. But he came in a generation, Mrs. Jaisimha is here, who he played with. They played in an era where they had a rest day. And guess what they did on rest days? They went to Moti Mahal to have bets on who'll have more chicken. Because it didn't matter whether you were fit or not, you just had to go and play. Virat Kohli changed cricket. He made it hyper-competitive. Now you've got to be fit, you have to spend as much time in the gym as you spend on the field. Likewise, the BJP under Modi Shah has made elections hugely hyper-competitive. You can't miss a beat. 17 seats, Congress rebels in Haryana, cost them the election. That's it. All you needed to do, work together, convince the rebels not to contest, and you would have won that election. The mahal was with you, the management was not. Elections now are hyper competitive in this country. Last mile, the money power is there, all of that is there. But just think about it, and I'll give you one example in Haryana. There was a constituency which the Congress thought they would win easily. Jat dominated, a community that was largely with the Congress. What did the BJP do? They put up 12 independent candidates sponsored by them from the Jat community and put up an OBC candidate against them from the BJP. The Jat vote got divided. One of those BJP candidates won by 32 votes. This is how politics is now played out in this country. Sam, dam, danda, bhed. Anyone who thinks you can come only at election time and wave to the public and say, remember my grandmother was prime minister or so and so, it won't work anymore. It's over. Now you need last mile connectivity. You need booth level management. The BJP in Maharashtra identified 12,000 booths and put in Mahila Vistaraks to go to the women to remind them that the BJP is giving you 7,500. They put up candidates who just went, people who just went to OBC communities. Within OBCs, they divided that further and had summellans of those specific OBCs. That's the level of hyper competitiveness that elections has become. Mr. Goud's party has to wake up and smell the coffee, or should I say the tea. If you want to compete against the so-called chaiwala, as you all once called him, you better prepare your tea much better than you did this year in Maharashtra and Haryana. And 99 seats, you see the fundamental mistake of Lok Sabha was the Congress got 99 and thought they had got 272. The BJP got 240 and was hoping they'd get 400. And the truth of the matter is neither happened. But the BJP, as Neerja rightly put, course corrected. The Congress thought apna time aa gaya. Aapka time nahi aaya, boss. Aapko mehnat bahut karni padegi. You're going to have to become Virat Kohli, not, dare I say, my father's generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a very significant and no-nonsense.
I thought I'd rile him up.
So Mahesh Goud Garu. So Congress had been dormant in Telangana too for most part, like almost 10 years. But KCR was almost considered invincible, like nobody can defeat him or BRS. But what happened? How did things perk up, and how did you start working, and finally you defeated the invincible KCR and confined him to the farmhouse?
So, well, I thank you, Hindu group, and I'm happy to share that's with eminent journalists, the true journalists, Rajdeep Sardesai and Neerja ji. Before coming to Telangana, I'll just put a light on Maharashtra elections. Rajdeep ji jo bole hai, I may not agree full of your facts, but I partially agree that we were little lacking in Maharashtra. What should have been done in Maharashtra, we couldn't do that much extra, that much manipulations even. What went in Maharashtra, what Neerja ji told is about 1,500 rupees to Mahilas had played a vital role. And you know, Maharashtra is a landscape of regional aspirations and regional alliances. BJP succeeded in manipulating alliances there, cutting short to the, alluring Shinde, Shiv Sena Shinde and Ajit Pawar, making them to defect to their party, cutting their size. The chief minister, once chief minister had been made deputy chief minister, they have dismantled the regional feelings. And as you rightly said, money played a vital role in Maharashtra. Not only 1,500 rupees, but paying crores of rupees to sarpanches. Through money, they got votes. And Congress basically could not withstand the manipulations played by BJP. Strategic breaking alliances there, getting stalwart leaders into their fold. And you know about EVMs also. After the elections, of course, after every election we blame EVMs, but there what happened in Maharashtra, They claim 55% of polling by 5 p.m. and finally tallied with 67% of voting. 12% of hike. That indicates how poll management took place, how they manipulated. Of course, EVMs are man-made machines. We have a lot of concerns about EVMs. So many factors. More than that, the best manipulation made by BJP leaders got them into power in Maharashtra. And Congress party's agenda of development would not stand up with BJP's manipulative tactics. Anyhow, as you said, we need a Virat Kohli. Definitely, Rahul Gandhi will emerge as Virat Kohli in forthcoming elections. We'll definitely get through and we'll definitely build up our party as per the aspirations of common citizen of this country. आपको पता है इस देश में डेवलपमेंट के नाम पे वोट मांगी नहीं जा रही है, भगवान के नाम पे वोट मांगी जा रही है. आई एम एन हिंदू, रोज़ पूजा पाठ करता हूँ, बगैर पूजा पाठ के बाहर आता नहीं. बट नेवर इन माई लाइफ आई आस्क्ड वोट्स इन द नेम ऑफ हनुमान एंड राम. तो दिस इज वेयर अनफॉर्चुनेटली वी आर साइड ट्रैक. राइट वे बोलते हैं लेकिन राइट वे रॉन्ग वे पे जा रहा है, ये गलत सिस्टम में अपन जा रहे हैं. एंड कमिंग टू द तेलंगाना पार्ट, तेलंगाना वी इन द नेम ऑफ बंगारू तेलंगाना, यू नो, सुनहरी तेलंगाना बनाएंगे बोल के तेलंगाना ला लिए. 10 साल की केसीआर रूल में 10 years of KCR's rule has dismantled whole of Telangana, destructed Telangana's economy. 10 years rule, authoritative rule करके पूरा तेलंगाना डिस्ट्रक्शन हो गया है. Especially rural people could realize the destruction happening to Telangana. अभी ज़्यादा अगर इसको मौका देंगे तो तेलंगाना पूरा ख़त्म हो जाएगा. इसलिए जब कांग्रेस went to people with 6 guarantees, especially Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and Kharge ji promised 6 guarantees in Tukukuda meeting, people believed it because Sonia ji once promised in Karimnagar about Telangana, she delivered it. So when Sonia ji declared 6 guarantees, people believed Congress and bought Congress back. One another factor is Revanth Reddy was young and energetic man, was leading PCC. इनका बोलने का तरीका, केसीआर को फेस करने का तरीका पब्लिक को पसंद आई. 6 guarantees को उसको हैड हो गए. So people bought us back to power. Now after coming to power, within a span of 1 year, we delivered many things in development and welfare what they could not deliver in 10 years. We talk about loan waiver. They could not give more than 25,000 crores in 10 years' time, wherein within 11 months, we gave 21,000 crores of money as a loan waiver for the farmers.
But you
And we have given, most important thing, why people of Telangana wanted Telangana. Each family a job, then change it to a 1 lakh jobs in a span of 5 years. But in 10 years of time, they could not exceed 50,000 government jobs. Whereas after coming to power, Congress had given, in the span of 9 months, we had given 50,000 employment, government employment. Now we have completed 56,000 jobs within a 1 year of time. So this is what people wanted from Congress, and Congress is delivering. Out of 6 promises, some more are there to be delivered. We'll definitely deliver them. And now BRS wanted us to rebuild Telangana in 1 year. What they have dismantled Telangana in 10 years, they are very hurry now. They wanted us to build in 1 year. So through you people and through you, your media, I am requesting them, please allow us to govern. People have given mandate for 5 years. Majority of 6 guarantees we have delivered already. And within coming 4 years' time, we'll definitely deliver all the promises and we'll get the applause from the people of Telangana.
Rajdeep, you seem to want to comment on that.
Look, I partly agree with a little bit of what he said. I also disagree with part of what you see. This EVM thing is becoming very tricky. It cannot be that when you win in Telangana, everything is well, and when you lose in Maharashtra and Haryana, there's a problem. That won't work. There is a problem though. the Election Commission of India is losing its credibility. It is opaque, it's not transparent. In Maharashtra, and these are astonishing figures, they have added 40 lakh new voters. Look at these numbers, 40 lakh new voters between June and November, and between June and October. In 5 months, 40 lakh new voters on the electoral rolls. In the previous 5 years in Maharashtra, 32 lakh voters were added. Where have these 40 lakh new voters come from? If I ask this question to Election Commission, I don't get an answer. They need to give an answer. So you see, part of the problem is that they are playing on this uncertainty because we have an Election Commission that I liken in the book to what the Pakistan team umpires were before neutral umpires came. They bat for one side. And it's time, to look at the Election Commission and its role. So there, he's right. I'm not blaming EVMs. I'm saying the way elections are conducted needs to be questioned at the moment. There is just one point I want to add where I agree with him. The role of religion in politics. You see, if you are going to play this batenge to katenge, or batenge to katenge and ek hai to safe hai, and you are going to use the most pernicious use of religion, a day before Maharashtra elections, a WhatsApp, and remember WhatsApp is a weapon now. WhatsApp was used to spread the news that Waqf board is going to take over Siddhi Vinayak temple land. And it is sent to every WhatsApp group across all the 1 lakh booths of Maharashtra. What impact will it have? It's having impact. My aunt rang me up. Rajdeep, hey, khara hai ka? I said, madam, please exercise some of your own. But imagine if she is telling me, a middle class Maharashtrian woman, what impact it's having on others. You see, we are and even in this gathering, I'm sure there are people. This is a polite audience, but they think, yaar, wo Musalman jo hai, wo ghuspaitiya ho sakta hai. Once you bring in religion into politics so directly, overtly, in such a toxic manner, you are playing with fire. You may win an election or two today, but one day we will pay a huge price in this great diverse country of ours if we allow politicians to use religion to divide us. I'm sorry to make that point. And don't underestimate the role of that in that Maharashtra verdict. That Maharashtra verdict was played on the fact the Chief Minister, or now the Chief Minister, then Deputy Chief Minister, used vote jihad, saying if Muslims can come out and vote for one party, Hindus must unite and vote for the other. Now, is this the kind of... Now I know there will be those who will say this is Muslim. If Muslims do it, why can't Hindus? That is not the way politics... This is the greatest country in the world because this was not meant to be Pakistan. This is the kind of politics you play in Pakistan. Religious politics. When I joined journalism in 88, Neerja will know better, there was a slogan before the 89 election, Jo Hindu hit ki baat karega, wahi desh pe raj karega. In our newsroom, we used to think they are extremist fringe. Today the extreme is mainstream. And whether in gatherings like this or whether our political parties, they use religion to divide you. Whether Muslim leaders or Hindu leaders, do we have the courage? Does his party also have the courage to actually take them on? They didn't give any tickets to Muslims in the Lok Sabha in Maharashtra this time because no Hindu will vote for a Muslim. And that is the tragedy of this country today. And that is the reality that we must face. One politician yesterday from Maharashtra asked me this question. When I was telling him, you all were useless, you all did nothing. He said, you tell me, how do I fight religion? I can fight my opponent. Can I fight Ram? Now you have to decide this question. What kind of India do you want? I want to leave you with this so that I hope that one day when you go home, you will ask yourself this. What kind of India do you want?
One word I'll add to...
That doesn't mean that you all were not, you all did badly.
I'm not contradicting. हिंदू के नाम पे वोट मांगने की वाली बात बोल रहा हूँ. 2014 में पावर में आने के लिए मोदी जी राम जी का नाम लिया होगा. 10 साल रूल करे. At least after 10 years, you ask votes on what you did for the country for the last 10 years. वो अभी नहीं, अभी भी राम के नाम पे वोट पूछ रहे हैं. 10 साल मौका दिए आपको मोदी जी को to rule. What have you done for these 10 years? What happened to your 2 crore jobs? ये बोलते नहीं अभी. 10 साल के बाद भी इसी के नाम पे वोट मांग रहे हैं. That is very bad. राजदीप जैसे बोले ये लॉन्ग रन में will ruin the country. आप बोले वैसे राइटिज्म एक्सट्रीज्म हो रहा है. The card of extremism, country will be ruined.
That brings me to my next question to Neerja. Neerja, how do you see the changing psyche of average Indian voter? The problems that were considered important earlier, fuel price rise, onion price rise, all these are not the factors anymore. There is something else that is influencing the voter's choice.
2 points on that. How is the psyche of the Indian voter changed? But before that, Rajdeep, your words, what's said by Vishwanath Pratap Singh at one time. He said, I could fight the Congress, but how do I fight Ram? Narasimha Rao said exactly the same thing. How could I fight Ram? I could not fight Ram. So anyway, that's been the helplessness and the dilemma of prime ministers even before now. How is the psyche changed? One, that the Hindus have become Hinduized. That's a reality today. And their party doesn't know how to handle it. When they go temple hopping, it's the fighting on the other side's turf. It does not bring them votes. But they really don't know how to spell out what secularism in the India of 2024 means and what is the lexicon, what is the language in which you spell it out, that the Hindu identifies with it. Number two, the voter has become transactional. What Rajdeep said, one of the South Indian chief ministers revealed very recently, whatever be the ceiling that the election commission puts, actually we spend 40 crores per Lok Sabha constituency and 25 crores on an MLA constituency. That is the hard, privately owned reality. So the voter says, you people make so much money. All this money that Rajdeep is talking about. So what? At election time, if you give me 1,500 rupees a month, that woman will say, a friend of mine said to me, I am really become very skeptical at one level because the bringing down of Chhatrapati Shivaji's statue in Maharashtra and Bombay because of less than good material, bad material that was used for that statue and had the state in uproar, that emotional issue was put on the back burner. What actually worked was, do I get 1,500 rupees per month? Do I get 7,500 rupees at the time? What is coming in my hand? So the voter too feels your model of development is not delivering. You are making crores and crores of rupees. So at election time, you have to come to me. Why should I not demand that you give me at least what you do give me? So there is this skepticization also of the voter. This psyche is changing. And I think the electoral reforms and one election, one nation, one election that we are going in for does not go far enough. They've talked about synchronization of Lok Sabha and Assembly election, but they do not address the fundamental problem of big money pervading our elections, making them less than free and fair. And I think there are issues, including EVMs. There are issues that need to be addressed within the larger whole of electoral reforms that we need to have in this country. One nation, one poll is very small part of the whole exercise that needs to be undertaken.
I just want, to be fair, while we may say, how do you fight Ram and religion and emotion, a marketing from a multinational had a good word to me. I was trying to understand. Let's be fair to Mr. Modi. He's never lost an election. He's been in power for both in between Gujarat and Delhi for what now, 22 years and counting, 23 years and counting, which is quite a remarkable achievement. And he said something which has stuck in my mind. He said there's a Hind formula, H-I-N-D. H for Hindutva, I for infrastructure, N for nationalism, and D for delivery. And he said somewhere or the other, some Indian will find himself or herself in one of these buckets. So someone will say, delivery, I got my digital payment, or I got my 1500 rupees. Someone says nationalism, Desh Bhakti ka zamana hai. We have to take on Pakistan, as we saw in 2019 in particular. Someone will say, as my son said, look at these 4-lane highways that have been built. Where, as, you know, my son also is part of this, what I call the Modified generation. They don't seem to believe there was an India before 2014. He's 28, so he said, look at these highways, were they there like this? So he looks at infrastructure, and then there's Hindutva. So it's
maybe that's because you started writing about elections since 2014, not before that.
No, I had some more time to write. But the fact is that, look, the truth of the matter is India is changing. We are becoming more urbanized. We are countries which are driven. You see, there has to be an understanding also what has happened. This is a process that has been built over 30 years. Islamic radicalism, the impact that that has had on the Hindu psyche in consolidating a Hindu voter, this imaginary enemy that you create on the other side. All of this has happened over the last 30 years. The fact is the BJP has captured that mood in a way. They started off in 2014 by saying, and this was their fault, the Congress simply was, you know, the second part of the Manmohan Singh government was seen as weak, corrupt, effect. Along comes a knight in shining armor and says, I'm going to change India, vote for me. That's what he does in 2014. By 2019, goalposts change, nationalism. We are going to take on Pakistan, ghar mein ghus kar mara. By 2024, you're talking about Viksit Bharat in 2047. The genius, if I may use the word of Mr. Modi in a way, is his ability to shift narratives. You know, COVID too, down and out, and my book has this, mistake after mistake made. You celebrated in February of 2021 as if you had conquered COVID. You allowed Kumbh Mela to take place, elections to take place, cricket matches to take place. You even gave vaccines abroad. And we paid a price. But by October, you were saying, vaccine guru. So suddenly everyone forgot COVID. You screwed up in a way on demonetization, put a lot of people through pain. 6 months later, you weren't talking about black money, you're saying digital economy is here. It's a genius. You know, it requires a marketing guru. I mean, I'm looking at Mr. Balakrishnan, but you know, I often say this, if Mr. Modi loses an election, please hire him as your chief marketing officer. The ability to shift narratives is a big strength. These guys are a Fiat compared to a Ferrari. Right? You're playing the old style politics. He's playing, I don't approve of all of it. Much of it is toxic. As I said, when the Prime Minister says, ek hai to safe hai, he says, he should be saying, ek hai to mazboot hai. Unite people. Ek hai to safe hai is a dog whistle to say who's the other guy who's screwing you. That's the truth. When he makes a speech in Baswada on Mangal Sutra and aapke bhains cheen legi, that's the darker side of the man. But I say we should see both. The tragedy is India doesn't, most journalists don't want to see both. They want us to be either cheerleaders or they want us to be part of their so-called echo chamber. What happens to those who don't want to be part of both? Because one of the other things, which is the elephant in the room, is the media power that one side has. Please do not underestimate that role. No one wants to ask questions anymore. You ask questions, you're anti-national. And that's not acceptable to me, at least. That's not the India I want to be. That's not the journalist I want to be. And I will keep asking questions even if you attack me. Because I think that's what we as Indians should be asking. One question which we should ask, I'll leave that question, and it's, you know, it's in my book, but you should, how many Indians died during the 2 waves of COVID? Who will tell us? The government says 4.5 lakhs, WHO says more than 40 lakhs. Who do I believe? Who's going to give me a record? And if I ask it, it becomes NDA, which means no data available. Not acceptable. We Indians should be asking more questions. Where did PM CARES Fund money go? Who got it? How were public sector units forced to pay it? On what grounds? And then when I ask question, you say it's a private entity. PM CARES Fund is a private entity? Where public sector is forced to pay money? Can't ask questions. Chalo, no questions asked. We will carry on like this. That's part of the problem. In a way, I feel sorry for them. Because being an opposition leader is no longer easy. क्योंकि अगर EC आपके साथ नहीं तो ED तो हमेशा आपके साथ नहीं है. ED only operates in opposition ruled states. It's bizarre. It is bizarre. Are you telling me there's no money laundering taking place in BJP ruled states? I was in a BJP ruled state the other day. They told me, sir, वो minister थे, उसके बेटे ने पूरा property खरीद दिया है. I said, कौन? उसको कोई कुछ करेगा नहीं sir. BJP ruled state है. That's the reality. They'll come to Telangana. They'll come to you soon, sir.
राजदीप जी, thank you very much. जो बातें मेरे को बोलना था, आधे बातें आप ही बोल दिए, मेरा बोझ उठा दिए.
नहीं, आप लोग बोल नहीं थे, आप बोलते नहीं हैं.
And ED आएगा, CBI आएगा, we are ready to face. And you all must know that nearly 96.2 cases of ED have been filed on opposition. 96.2 cases.
But आपका leader only अडानी करता रहता है. That's the problem.
No, अदानी के against, अदानी के जो हरकतें उनके against में है. We are not individually against अदानी और अंबानी. जहाँ undue advantage मोदी साहब ने दे रखा है अदानी को, एटलीस्ट अंबानी तो ऑयल का बिजनेस, कभी कपड़े का बिजनेस करके कमाया है. अदानी कौन सा बिजनेस करके इतना बड़ा आदमी बना है? जस्ट बिकॉज मोदी सपोर्ट के साथ हुआ ना. तो इसलिए एक चीज आप बोले उसमें,
आप तो उसके साथ अग्रीमेंट करने वाला था अभी तेलंगाना में.
We haven't given an inch of land in Telangana. The agreement was made at the time of KCR. That is, in Davos we made some agreements. That's not fulfilled so far. And we haven't even given an inch of land to Adani after coming to power. Congress back coming to power.
Whoever comes to power, Adani is safe.
Yeah. और आप एक सर्टिफिकेट मैं भी उनको अप्रूव करता हूँ. मोदी is successful in changing narratives. Every time successful in changing narratives. Because of that geniusness, he is ruling the country. तो ठीक है. और आने वाले दिन में जो लोग आज बीजेपी को वोट दे रहे हैं, चाहे हिंदुत्व के नाम पे हो, चाहे मोदी के फेयर में, लेकिन डेफिनेट एक टाइम आएगा वही लोग रियलाइज होंगे and they will be thrown out.
We are running out of time, so
Can I just say one line to what Rajdeep said? One of the things Mr. Modi's success, apart from the Hindis talked about HND, is that he has understood the aspirational India. If you meet Dalits, for instance, the day after the new government in Maharashtra was sworn in was Baba Saheb's Punyatithi, Baba Saheb Ambedkar's. I traveled along 6-7 kilometers of lines of people who'd come at 5:30 in the morning and stood for 7-8 hours to pay their obeisance to Baba Saheb at his Samadhi. And these are mostly young, educated Dalits. A girl told me, I want to be like Baba Saheb a Vakil. That's why I've come with my mother to get his blessings. You know, the kind of language you heard. So it's women, it's OBCs, it's Dalits. That is the aspirational India he has understood, Mr. Modi.
And to add to her, if I may say, when you say aspiration, part of that is communication. You see, this is a multimedia age. You're going to have, he spoke about Mr. Rahul Gandhi at the moment, and, he's entitled to see him as a leader, as a Virat Kohli. My Hindi is better than Rahul Gandhi today. And I've worked at it for 30 years. I came from Delhi. I came to Delhi as a Mumbaikar, bad Hindi. You got to work at it. There is no substitute for hard work. And communication is an essential part of politics today. You may have the right ideas, and to the credit of Rahul Gandhi, he's shown a lot of courage of conviction, even on the Adani issue. Whether you like it or not, he's stuck at it. You got to give him credit for that at a time when everyone was sort of, even on COVID, what I've said, he's been talking about. But you've got to communicate it. There is an entire India which is born after Rajiv Gandhi was tragically assassinated in 1991. 33-year-olds, young Indians, right? They are not going to recall you on the basis of Indira Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru. Rahul Gandhi is a fifth-generation dynast. This is a meritocratic India at various levels that wants a new kind of communication. I'm not saying family Raj doesn't exist across parties. In Maharashtra, there were 237 families out of the 288 constituencies, whose fathers, mothers, uncles, nephews were politicians. It exists across parties. But I'm saying communication is key. Mr. Modi has mastered the art of communicating to this new aspirational India, given them hope, whether it's that 4-lane highway, whether it's a digital payment, and he's appropriated everything to himself. You see, his skill is, when things go wrong, he does a disappearing act. During COVID too, he wasn't around for 6 weeks. But he's very good when things go well and harnesses it to himself. That's his strength. Now that's politics. You can't crib about it. That's the way he is. Now you got to find a better communicator. And if you still believe Rahul Gandhi is your leader, good luck. Find another communicator along with Rahul Gandhi. Give opportunities. Unfortunately, in your party, I've seen over the years, nothing succeeds like failure. If someone fails, people in Congress are happy because then they are not insecure. You see, that's not how you can do politics anymore. You're going to have to find people who know how to fight. And if you can't fight them, give way to someone else who can.
No, Rajdeep ji, Rahul Gandhi ji may not be that intelligent, that gimmick player like Modi, but is a plain man with commitment for democracy, commitment for secularism, is very, very committed for the nation. What I have seen in Rahul Gandhi for the last 20-25 years is a plain man, plain-hearted man, lovely man, committed for the nation. What I have seen him for the last 25 years. मैं ना आप बोले वैसा उतना चालूबाजू नहीं है, इसलिए तो हम फेस नहीं कर सकते मोदी के वैसा. मोदी जी की चालूबाजी के वजह से आज ठीक है चल रहा है, थोड़े दिन चलेगा और आप बोले वैसा टाइम लगेगा.
No, that's right. He's not wrong. Rahul Gandhi, in my view, is a political philosopher, wants to make the Congress an ideologically driven party. Problem is, they're a party of power. Yes. You see, you are trying to convert a party which is ideologically, which is a power party into an ideological party. Not easy. Let them say whatever he wants. The truth of the matter is that. Rahul Gandhi Bharat Jodo Yatra is all very well. Where is your organization? You have to build a Sangathan. Who's going to do it? There are districts where there's no Congress committee. In Haryana, there were districts where the Congress committee has been the same for 30 years. So it's all, Rahul Gandhi well-meaning. But that's not enough, sir.
No, as a
congressman, you need to start working on the ground. BJP works on the ground. You like it or not, they work hard on the ground.
Yes, 100%. To some extent, I accept there are lapses on our part. But one thing is clear. He is not a power monger also. If he wanted to become a prime minister in 2009, no one could have stopped him. और करप्शन जो मोदी के बारे में बहुत सारे लोग बोलते हैं मोदी को ना वाइफ है ना बच्चे है, वो करप्शन ही नहीं करता. लेकिन पावर का करप्शन जो पावर मॉन्गिंग करप्शन जो है वो सबसे बड़ा डेंजरस करप्शन है. मोदी इज फॉर दैट पावर इज रेडी टू डू एनीथिंग, whereas Rahul is not behind power. In 2004, if Sonia ji wanted to become prime minister, no one could have stopped her. In 2009, if Rahul ji wanted to become prime minister, no one could have stopped him. Why did they bring Manmohan Singh? Purely in the interest of the nation. You have to, sir, Rajdeep ji and Neerja ji should accept, Congress is synonymous of upliftment.
Sir, politics is about power. Politics is about power. It's like telling a fisherman, I don't want to fish.
Real poor के बारे में सोचने वाली बात. Yeah, I agree with you. See, who bought right to education? Who bought right to Food Security Act? Who bought right to information? Who bought Manrega? Lakhs of people, lakhs of families are getting benefited of that. Did Modi think of these sections for the last 10 years? Any flagship program had he launched for these downtrodden sections? For the last 10 years. Diesel, petrol, common man use करने वाली चीज़ है वो. Government made nearly 55 lakh crores of money on diesel and petrol and not been transferred to common man. Government के pocket में गया है. कोई सोचता नहीं.
Actually, we are out of time, but I wanted to have your views on One Nation, One Election. Rajdeep, how is it going to benefit BJP? Why is BJP pushing for it?
Look, I think the Prime Minister, in my view, wants to make India slowly but surely into a presidential style system, where he is the only issue. He tried it in 2024, and as Neerja rightly said, the public said, sorry, we are a diverse country. Tamil Nadu thinks different to Telangana, thinks different to Karnataka, to Bengal, UP. One nation, one election is yet another attempt to try and particularly convince the urban middle class, tumhara paisa bach jayega, and therefore have one nation, one election. The real reason is make India a more presidential style system. And Neerja is absolutely right. That is not the real reform this country needs. In my view, one of the reforms this country needs is proportional representation. Why should I, if I lose by 500, somewhere we need a more representative parliament also. Those are the right to recall. If my MLA MP is not functioning, I should have the right to recall. You have to think of more imaginative things. I think one nation, one election is an attempt to convert a great diverse country at one level into a country that will slowly move from a parliamentary to a presidential system. I think there will be resistance. I know that the BJP doesn't have the numbers at the moment. The BJP is very good at headline management. How do I move away from Adani? One nation, one election. Or George Soros. Every day new googly. So that people are kept wondering, what is the new thing happening? So now one nation, one election you will debate. You won't debate money power. Mr. Goud must tell us how much money they spend per candidate in Telangana. I hear that you all are top of the pops when it comes to that. But the truth of the matter is, these are the issues we should, one nation, one election will not reduce the amount of money in elections. All that will happen, instead of that being spread out over 5 years, it will happen once. But it will be the same amount of money. Make no mistake. Will it improve governance? I don't know. I think my own view is we should have one nation, two elections, if at all. Where you have, like the US system, you have the Lok Sabha election and you have 2 periods where half the states go and the other half go. That's a possibility. You need to think about it. But it cannot be done in isolation. First, you've got to stop money power. Money power has distorted Indian elections. It is not anymore a level playing field. If I have 100x compared to you, how can I fight an election? It's not possible. And none of them talk to it because no one wants to bite the hand that feeds them. That's the reality. In states like Telangana, the only people who are becoming politicians now, most of them are people connected to real estate. The real estateization of politics is one of the factors in Maharashtra. I know a politician who used to come to me 30 years ago with a little small Air India bag, seeking press releases. Today he is one of the biggest real estate barons and an MLA several times over in Maharashtra. He feeds the entire machine of one of the parties. Is this healthy for democracy? That is democracy going to be run by real estate contractors or the people of this country? You have to decide. No good person will enter politics if money power continues like this. And that is what we should be worried about, not one nation, one election. One nation, one election is a Modi googly to confuse you. And he doesn't even bowl that as well as Shane Warne used to. Because it is so transparent. You know what he's doing.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say, if the committee that went into it, the Kovind committee, they said that they talked to 21,000 people and 80% of the people were in favor of it. Now, the people in favor of it are largely middle class. If you go to the village, they suddenly many will tell you, that means 5 साल तो कोई हमारे पास आएगा ही नहीं. See, हम अभी बोलते हैं आए हमारे पास आज, हमने कहा ये सड़क नहीं बनी, ये नहीं हुआ. Then they come again 6-8 months later, so half of it done, half of it not done. We say, look, it's not done. There is pressure on them all the time. Now for 5 years, they will not show their face to us. So their way of looking at it is very different. Apart from the difficulty of logistics, security, I mean, if you could not conduct a Maharashtra election along with Haryana, you didn't have the right number of forces, you were not confident enough. How are you going to do Lok Sabha and all the assemblies simultaneously? I think it needs, I absolutely agreed that it needs national debate, serious national debate, because otherwise it's going to be like announcing demonetization at 8 o'clock at night, and in the following 50 days, you will have 250 notifications, one revising the other one. I think the Prime Minister may want to, I don't know whether he wants to go in for presidential, I don't know about that. But Prime Minister has this penchant for doing things bhavya, grand, the big. He'd like to do things big, so big changes. But I think this one really needs to be thought through. It'll probably go to a parliamentary committee. I'm told it'll be moved in Parliament next week. And there may be a chance to have a proper discussion on it, national discussion on it.
No, Neerja is right. Elections ensure accountability in this country. Have more. That's the only time these people wake up. Ladki Bahin in Maharashtra, Sunday they thought of female empowerment. For 4.5 years, nobody thought of female empowerment. Yes. So I think you need actually, and just on a lighter note, think about one nation election. What will it do to us? You know, I go around the country, elections on my plate, all of this, to think that it will only happen once in 5 years. It's very depressing.
I must tell you, Rajdeep, one of the non-political journals in my paper, Indian Express, said, "Ab hamare ko zyada chance milega." You know, there'll be space for what we write. You chaps who write about politics hog the space all the time. So there's the flip side.
No, but elections ensures accountability. It really, in this country, the only time Neerja is right, municipal election, panchayat election, all of that, all the roads in Maharashtra this time were looking much better. I asked people, sir, last 2 months all is being done. That's the truth of this country. For 4 years and 10 months they do nothing. Last 2 months they suddenly come with, road building projects, Ladki Bahin. So let's have more elections, nothing wrong with it. Let them all be tested, but we should have a right to recall and we should have proportional representation along with it. That will truly enhance it. Let's look at ways in making democracy representative and free of this cancer of cash. This cash cancer has to go. He didn't answer how much money in Telangana per constituency.
After Karnataka, Telangana has become more costlier now.
How much?
That will reveal later. After completing the...
No, Neerja said 40 crores for Lok Sabha, 25 for
on
Vidhan
an
Sabha.
average, it's touching that.
You all are above that or?
No. On an average, it's touching that. It's touching that. It's a fact. It's a fact. Elections have become costly. And on one nation, one election, Congress party is strongly opposing it. It is not just impractical, but fundamentally undemocratic. They are curbing the rights of federalism. Every state should have choice of their elections in their own way. Now, electing a government for 5 years, all of a sudden, a president rule is imposed, that right has been curtailed. So, federalism ko dhakka dene wale ye one nation, one election is nothing but, as Rajdeep ji bole, one nation, one ruler. They wanted that form of government, but people of India are very intelligent. They don't pray petty for Modi. We all, the citizens of this country, will protect our country in a proper manner.
Thank you very much for a very lively debate and discussion. Now I open the session for questions and answers. Please be brief in your questions and please don't get into arguments.
No confidence motion against the Rajya Sabha chairman. How do you see it?
Well, you know, it is obviously 60 MPs of the opposition have signed it. They thought of bringing it in last session also. For some time now, they have been exercised about this. And if 60 MPs and more, virtually the entire opposition feels that the chair has not been fair. And I think the chair could have been more even-handed than it has been. Then the chair needs to address this, to sit across and say how things need to be righted. Otherwise, what you're having is, you know, normally the deadlock between the ruling side and the opposition, who mediates? It is the chair that mediates. The chair has become part of that firing line. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister who mediates has become part of the firing line. So this lack of communication, more than that, the deadlock, the inability to be able to talk to the other side, and the bitterness that has crept in between the ruling side and the opposition. I think that's very worrying about a parliamentary democracy and what is happening. There's no confidence, no motion, which should be really the last resort. It should not be resorted to easily. But the opposition obviously is exercised. And I keep feeling that the Prime Minister now needs to intervene. He needs to call Mr. Kharge, he needs to call some of the opposition people and say, how do we sort this out? You know, the parliamentarians owe us better than this.
Yeah, please.
Provocative question here.
I have a
not going to go away from our politics. Elon Musk bought Trump election. Cash is not going to go away. Is democracy the right model in the first place?
My God, you're asking what, do you want the Chinese model? Where we could not even have a debate like this maybe, if we were sitting in Beijing or Shanghai. You know, we tend to diss democracy too easily. You know, democracy democracy is messy. I think we should be fighting harder to protect it. You and I, people of this country, give up too easily. We don't rely on only them. They are self-serving. But you and I need to fight harder to protect democracy. What do? We don't do enough. There was a time when people would come on the streets to agitate when real issues took place. In Mumbai, you know, there were leaders like Mrinal Gore. She would fight even for water, for the people, proper drinking water. Today, as long as I get it in my house, I don't care whether my neighbor gets it or not. That's what we have become. Democracy requires a lot of sacrifice from people. But I will still believe it's a better system than having dictatorial, authoritarian regimes, because then the freedom that you and I have to speak in the manner that we have, that we can today, will also go away. I don't want that. I still maintain this is the greatest country in the world. And it's the greatest country in the world because it is diverse and because it is democratic. You know, there is this wonderful lady, Sanjana Jatav, 26-year-old Dalit mother of two, won this election. I have a chapter called Democracy Zinda Hai, Stories of Hope. 26-year-old, Dalit mother of two, husband is a constable. Rajasthan government said, we will sack you if you make your wife fight. He, and all marks to him, तुम मेरी बीवी को रोकोगे वो fight करेगी. And she defeated the chief minister's candidate without having even 1/100th of the money that he did. May this country have many more such Sanjana Jatavs one day who are willing to take on the bullies. And therefore, for their sake, you and I must fight to preserve democracy. We give up too easily. We are happy to see these strong men. Strong men won't solve India. They are actually straw men. They claim to be strong men. The real strong men are the people of this country. And you and I should be fighting for them. And we don't. We are very happy. Middle class is the happiest. Only time they are upset is during budget time कि हमको income tax relief क्यों नहीं मिला. उसके आगे we don't contribute to society beyond that. That's the problem. If we fight, democracy will be safe. If we don't, these guys will take over.
Rajdeep sir, allow me to, this is to you, sir. I've grown up seeing you in NDTV standing on the roads of Ahmedabad, Godhra riots. But unfortunately, things have changed. You've been so passionate in talking about how BJP establishment is creating a narrative. And you're bashing opposition for not doing enough. But I also feel media is also failing us. Very seriously, media is failing us. It's your job to demystify a narrative and rather pointing fingers at opposition that they are not doing enough. I'm sorry, sir, Rajdeep sir, you're also associated with a media house whose owner claims that my job is not an opposition job. At the same time, almost implying that my job is to play the narrative of a establishment. You are drawing benefits from such media house. You are also failing us as much as opposition and the establishment.
Mea culpa, I plead guilty. But yeah, look, there's a more serious question about the role of the media. You know, you can attack me and say all of us should leave the mainstream media, do other things with our lives. We need to still fight. Just as I think it's important to fight for democracy, it's important to fight for spaces even within the media. And that's the fight some of us continue to have. You know, you can easily wander out and say, yaar, sab kuch, like you said, sab neta chor hai was once said by Kejriwal and all during India against corruption. You'll say sab media useless hai. Maybe a lot of us have a lot to answer for, including myself. And the media's role certainly needs to be questioned. No problem with that at all. In fact, in this book, I have a lot about how the media is managed today. Look at the NDTV story. How one of India's leading primary companies was eventually taken over by Mr. Goud's best friend. But the truth of the matter is that that's not going to solve the problem. There's a larger crisis of the media, right? It's a business crisis, it's a business model crisis, but it's an ethical crisis. I agree with you. I'm with you. But tell me tomorrow if I start, how many people will subscribe? How many Indians do? No, this is all very well.
Should be
The
practical.
moment you put 10 rupees on a digital site, you will, and put a paywall, you will not subscribe. That's the experience that people are having. Please change it. Please change it. Please support good media. And maybe then things will change. But if you don't, then we don't have the right to complain, just as he has no right to complain about democracy in a sense if you're not willing to fight for it. But I concede and I appreciate your concern. I share it. That's why I'm on 2 months long leave and I can say what I want. And I don't know whether I'll ever go back also. But the truth of the matter is that we've got to fight for these spaces. We'll see what happens.
We'll take just one more question. Just one more.
At first I raised my question first. Please.
Sorry?
Sir, I have one basic question to the organizers. Please.
Sorry? I'll lose my deposit.
Please, please do not get into
Rajdeep
arguments
want to
with the
contest.
panelists.
We'll give him ticket. We'll give him Congress ticket.
I have one basic question to the organizers. I have one basic question to the organizers and one question to the panelists. But the first basic question is whether in Chennai, whether a literary festival is going to be organized or a political festival is going to be organized. And this is a curtain raiser program for a literary festival, and no literary person is invited on the panel, and at least you should have invited 1 or 2 persons from literature.
Sir, Rajdeep sir.
Let me complete. Let me complete the other question. My other question to the panelists is, this nation, India, experienced 3 times one nation, one election, 1952, 57 and 64. This country organized entire nation one election, and that was the Congress government, and that was proved to be excellent. And what made the country to go for several times, several elections? Who are responsible, and which party is responsible for this fate, and which party fallen many governments, which led to organize many elections many times in whole 5 years? This question is to my 2 panelists, and I hope that organizers will answer me whether literary festival is going to be organized.
Sir, Rajdeep sir, I have a question. Sir, I wanted to bring in some literature, as our friend was asking, literature into our dialogue.
No, he believes that journalists who write books are not worthy of being treated as literature.
No,
that's fine. That's your right. That's your right.
Excuse me.
That's your right.
Can I ask you to sit down for a minute, please? He just asked a question. Let them finish, and then we are closing. We are way out of time. So can they answer the question? To answer your first part, sir, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai has done a wonderful book. He's as much part of literature as he is on politics. So while his subject matter expertise might be politics, he's written a wonderful book. Please read the book and then ask him a question,
And
because it's a literature festival.
So
it's
has
about
Neerja
books.
Chowdhury. So has Neerja Chowdhury, and I take a lot of offense to the fact that you seem to believe that literature only exists in some, only if you bring some fiction writer. That's part of the problem. If you had 3 foreigners sitting here, you'd be celebrating if they were literateurs. We are also rooted in the in the soil of this country. People, when they write books, get up at 5 a.m., sit and write. You have every right not to read it. But don't see people who, write books only of a particular type. I'm glad that the Hindu is opening its mind to have these kind of conversations. It would have been perhaps nice to have even BJP here. We would have had even more fun. And it's okay. And if you see that Lit Fest lineup in Hindu, they have lots of authors, children's authors, fiction writers, all kinds. Let's respect diversity. Let's respect diversity and let 1,000 flowers bloom. Let there be regional writers, Dalit writers, all kinds of people. So that's your point. Number 2, he can answer that why is it that in the 50s you all had one nation, one election, you had no problem then?
No, actually 50s and you're talking about 16, we had elections. That was a general process. There were no midterm elections that time. All the people see, BJP leader is trying to put us in a phenomenon that of caste. You're always talking about cutting the cost. Why don't you think this is a future investment for the protection of democracy? The cost which you are putting is a mere cost. You are talking about cutting the cost now for the one nation, one election. Why don't you think this is an investment for the future democracy, protection of democracy? What costs you are incurred for the elections? See, simultaneous election is not practical, first of all, and it's denting the fundamental democratic system. It is denting the federal system. See, frequent elections will enlighten the governing bodies. They should have some check. If you are giving open check for 5 years, वो तो मनमानी कर लेगा 5 साल. अब हम सत्ता में हैं यहाँ, अभी लोकल बॉडी इलेक्शन फेस करने जा रहे हैं, तो हम जब निबद्ध सब काम कर रहे हैं लोकल बॉडीज में जीतना बोल के, अगर लोकल बॉडी एमएलए एमपी एक ही साथ होता है 5 साल तो हम सो जाएंगे, फिर आराम से करेंगे ना. तो चेक तो रहना है. इनिशियली हमारा कंटेंट ही है, रेगुलर इलेक्शंस रहने से जो भी पार्टी सरकार चलाती है उनको एक चेक रहेगा, एक अकाउंटेबिलिटी रहेगा. दिस इज व्हाट वी आर रिक्वेस्टिंग.
Just to add to this, it may not be a bad idea at all. I just feel that one nation, one election needs to be thought through much more than it is being done. I think we will otherwise run into huge trouble.
And also remember one small point, last point. You're in Telangana, a state that was actually formed because of these strong regional aspirations. The truth of the matter is that is also one of the big pulls of Indian politics today. Regional diversity. Let's respect that. And my fear is one nation, one election. In the 1950s, India wasn't in that stage of this kind of pronounced regional diversity we see today. Many more parties, many more groupings. And that actually makes democracy stronger. Why should democracy be about one nation, one party, one leader? India should be multi-party, leaders. Let 1,000 flowers bloom, both in literature and in politics. Makes us a stronger, better country. That's my view.
On that positive
no more questions, please. We are hopelessly out of time. Politics, BJP, one nation, one election are all hot topics. All of us have questions. I'm sorry, but we are out of time. Swathi would like you to wind up the session. Thank you very much. Please sit down, sir.
It has been a brilliant session, a very lively session, but all good things must come to an end. So thank you very much for your participation, and I profusely thank the panelists.
Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much for a fantastic session. Thank you also, Mrs. Sardesai, for reminding us to ask important questions. Swathi, may I please request you to present mementos to our speakers?
Just a quick word for the Hyderabad audience. You are far better than what it would be in Delhi. In Delhi, they would have broken out into fights and shouted at each other. You listen, and when you listen, you become better readers and listeners. So thank you, Hyderabad.
Thank you very much. From politics, we foray into food. Our next session, The Joy of Food, is an attempt to celebrate culinary traditions, stories, and experiences that bring us joy and celebrate the spirit of togetherness. Our panelists for this session are Ruth DSouza Prabhu, food writer, Gauri Devidayal, restaurateur and entrepreneur, Please welcome Ruth DSouza and Gauri Devidayal, please. May I also invite on stage Prabalika Borah, senior journalist, The Hindu Group, to moderate this discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, please may I request you to take your seats. Please note that there will be a book signing session with the authors. We request you to stay back. The book signing will be after the end of this session. I request you all to take your seats. The next session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Ruth DSouza Prabhu, Gauri Devidayal, and Prabalika Borah. Prabalika, over to you.
Hello everyone, and once politics is done, we'll take over with food. Food sparks conversations as passionately as politics, and I'm sure both of you agree, and all of us do too. Okay, so it's a topic that also unites and excites all of us. Ruth and Gauri, the few hours that you have been in Hyderabad, have you already been with the joy of food, experienced joy of food in Hyderabad?
Yes, we definitely have. We actually had lunch at Spicy Venue. It's a place that was actually introduced to me by Chaitanya, who's here from Manam last year. It's a fabulous place. We almost ended up eating our weight in food, but we have another large dinner coming up, so we've already had a taste of the city.
Looking for more opportunities?
Always.
What about you? You're also...
I came late because I was busy eating somewhere. So, no, every trip of mine, whether it's for 24 hours or longer, revolves around food now, and it's an occupational hazard. And hopefully food is as exciting as politics for people. But I think, we were talking about this earlier today, that I think food is now the biggest form of entertainment for people.
Food has forayed into a lot of ways. It's not just about eating. It's business, it's entertainment, and it's also visual entertainment. You are watching something as that's getting cooked in France or done in France, and then you're eating your roti sabji. But that's also giving you joy. So that entertainment is so good. As a writer, Ruth, whenever you taste something, whether it's something at a 100-year-old restaurant somewhere in Assam or in Telangana, are you almost in a tearing hurry to write about it, inform, or let me just savor the food and then let it,
So maybe earlier in my career, I used to be in a tearing hurry to let everybody know about the place. But I think social media has now come in and done the job pretty much for us. So I have now reached a stage where I would rather sit back, go to the place multiple times, savor it for myself, understand its story, what it's about, and then come and tell people about it. I think there's much more value in that.
So how many times did you go to in all these restaurants that you wrote about in your book?
So the book that I have written about, I need to give you a little history about it first. It's called India's Most Legendary Restaurants. And it's based on the Taste Atlas. So every year they release different lists of restaurants, which is primarily crowdsourced in terms of popularity. Last year, 100 legendary restaurants of the world were named, and in that, 7 of India's restaurants were there. So the book is entirely about the backstories of these restaurants. Now I have edited the book, I have written 2 essays. So the 2 places that I've been to is one in Bangalore, which is MTR, and the other one's Paragon in Kozhikode. And the others are written by other writers that I worked with. So the idea behind the entire book was to get people who have lived in those cities, who have gone to these restaurants as children with their grandparents, with their parents, who are now taking their children there. So I think as people with these legendary restaurants, we evolve with their story and become an intrinsic part of it and see it in a very different light from, say, someone who's just come into the city and ticking it off a bucket list.
I think, Gauri, also in your book, Diamonds for Breakfast, that is not just about food. It's a whole story, backstory, like she said, about, what with food, around the people. Any things that you want to share?
So, big confession, I run restaurants, but I can't cook. I don't like cooking. It stresses me out. And I think, the restaurant, I've been in the business now about 15 years. And I've seen it evolve, at least as far as Bombay is concerned, up close, but across the country. And it's one of those industries that everyone thinks is really glamorous and wants to have a piece of, right? Everyone today wants to open a restaurant. It was also the madness that we got into it for, but I think that was a midlife crisis. It wasn't, it wasn't the glamour factor. But
aren't you enjoying that phase?
The glamour factor? It's about
Everything
1% of what my day looks like. It's a lot of eating and a lot of firefighting, actually. And I think that was the inspiration behind writing the book. We were coming up on 10 years of our restaurant on the table, and a recipe book clearly wasn't coming out of this, this person. So I decided instead to share stories about the sort of realities of the behind the scenes of this business. And in a sort of as light-hearted way as I could, but that's basically what, the idea behind the book was, to just give people a glimpse on the behind the scenes that we don't tend to see when it comes to restaurants. We come, eat, take photographs and leave. And there's a lot that goes on behind that.
Does it also, both of you as being in the food business and a food writer, have you also noticed the evolving scene in food in India? It's not just about having the same old, dishes. It's about experimenting. There are a lot of chefs who are experimenting with Indian food and, Western flavors. At the same time, we see a lot of lesser known cuisines coming up, which is a good thing because we have more to taste. Where do you think this whole explosion of culinary findings going to go?
So from the way I have observed food and its evolution in India, people never really ate out. Like in my parents during their time, eating out was a once in a blue moon for a celebration. Now eating is a part and parcel of life. So I feel food has evolved in different categories. There was a time it was just about, you've got your first salary, you want to go out, you want to celebrate. It's somebody's birthday, you want to go out and celebrate. The kind of spaces that were there allowed for all of that to happen. But now, and I think it's also quite a bit COVID impacted as well, when people got stuck in their home and about the only thing that prevented them from going nuts is cooking in the house or finding out more about food on social media.
A lot of chefs came out.
A lot of chefs came out. Businesses came out of there. So and also a lot of people went back to their roots. So you see these evolution coming from different spaces. It can be from a very personal space. It can be situation related. So now, yes, there is a focus on a lot of micro cuisine that's coming up. This whole concept of fusion that was there earlier, thankfully it has
It's on its way out?
Died out.
Fusion is on its way out?
It's still around. You still do hear. So there's a very fine line between fusion and modern and interpreted and focused. And there are a lot of these jargon that's thrown around on what cuisine is all about. So there is a space for all of these right now. They all are evolving in their different ways. And it's just up to the audience to see what they like and what they don't like. But there's an audience for everything as far as I see it.
What do you?
I think that it started out with, you had cooking shows, right, on TV. And that slowly went into travel shows. And then we've now seen this boost of culinary travel. Culinary tourism is a huge thing now. So I think that's one part of it that is how I've seen this sort of newfound interest and sense of adventure around food, right? Like people will plan holidays around a restaurant reservation. They will, they'll I just came back from celebrating my birthday at a, in Kasoli, because there's a restaurant that's open there and you can't just go there for a meal and come back. You actually have to plan a holiday around it, right? So I think, and it's not just me because I'm in the industry. I saw plenty of people there who are, just regular diners who want to experience something different. So there's a general curiosity around food. It's celebratory, but not just from the perspective of, let's go out for that one birthday or anniversary, but genuinely wanting to try. There's a FOMO around not having tried new restaurants that have opened. So there's all of this. That's one part of it, and that's where food has become a big, area of interest.
Mainstay of.
Yeah, but I think the other aspect is that, and this happened sort of more, I would say, in the last 5 to 7 years, is this boom in homegrown brands, right? So you saw that happening with spirits. Obviously, there was this gin rush. You see that happening with chocolate. With Chaitanya's here. You see it happening with cheese, with coffee, and these are all things that have been there. But there's this new brand being built around the India story, and the same thing's happening with food. When it comes to regional cuisine, and it's like hyper local. Today we went and had this meal and I experienced things that I've never eaten before, and I'm genuinely, I was curious. I sort of, I think that's the new part. It's no longer looked down upon to, want to eat Indian food. There's a certain sense of pride that's
Indian food is going, becoming posh.
Well, it's not about posh. I think that now it's moved out of the home into the sort of restaurant or in a sort of pop-up format or, in terms of products. And there's now a pride in knowing about what's happening here and consuming what's in your own backyard. And COVID had a big part to play in that. So I think and then I think the third aspect is that Indian food is now making its mark internationally, right? You're seeing restaurants being led by Indian chefs, Indian cuisine in the US and, all over, and they're making their mark. So now suddenly, there's a lot more pride around our food, and I think that's the big change I've seen in the last few years.
Also, I think the audience is much more open to experiencing food in different ways and not just sitting at a table and experiencing it, but like maybe going for a walk in a city,
like
and food walks are happening.
At the table.
Yeah. So you have food walks that are happening. You have pop-ups coming into different cities. Like, it's not necessary your city-based restaurant pops up in a place. It goes all over the country. It goes out across the world. Chefs are working with one another to create new experiences. So I think the way people are experiencing food also has evolved in a huge way, and that has helped a lot in propagating the India story. Just continuing on Gauri's point.
Just one thing to add to this is I've seen the profession change as well, right? Like, it was people going to culinary school or becoming chefs was almost like, okay, I didn't get into like medical and law and engineering. And so I ended up, I was like, acha, I'll just do cooking. Today, people are seeking to, go to culinary school, whether in India or abroad. You find sort of youngsters, sort of educated youngsters wanting to get into the industry, work on the floor of the restaurant, work in the kitchen, and not feel sort of, it's very slow change, but it's 100% happening. And I think it's a reflection of how food is perceived across the board.
Is that how your career switch happened?
Because I got fired. No, just by way of background, I studied law and then worked as a chartered accountant in the Big Four for 9 years.
What was your experience with food then, apart from where you also like?
It was just consumption. There wasn't much thought. I mean, I enjoyed it. I never really thought about it so much.
Were you an experimental chef?
Sorry?
Were you an experimental chef at home?
Was I an no, God, no. Thankfully, no. I've realized that people who can do it better than me, and so I'd rather let them do it. And as a trained auditor, if something went even slightly wrong in the recipe, it would freak me out. So I just stayed away from this in general. But I think, one thing, I mean, I did sort of decide to take a year off from my job to do this with my husband, embark on this crazy idea of opening a restaurant. But I was coming at it from the business aspect of, managing sort of the finance, legal aspects, all the things other than being in the kitchen. And I think that's one thing that's really helped me in good stead, is having this background of not getting scared by Excel sheets. That's actually, helped us stay in business, because that's one thing that's definitely, as I see this like industry booming and, restaurants opening like every single day, I can barely keep up with what's open in our city, let alone around the country. One of the things that I see hugely amiss is there's the amazing talent. There's huge sort of passion around creating, a restaurant product, but the business side can be challenging for a lot of people. And I think, that's where we see a lot of the ups and downs in this business.
As an auditor and also in the food business, why do you think businesses, almost some of them, not everyone, they open quickly and then some of them also close up that quickly? What do you think goes wrong? Is it do they get their menu wrong? Is it that they're not able to cater to the diners? What goes wrong? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think this aspect of not really grasping the business side of things. So, a lot of these restaurants are opened by someone who obviously, they're great cooks. They've been, maybe they started as home chefs, or they started with a delivery business and they decided to get into, a high street space and have a restaurant. And the food is definitely integral to a successful restaurant, but it's only one part of it, the business side of it. And I always say this to people, who ask me advice to someone who wants to open a restaurant, is that, you may be a great chef, but have a great business partner who can take care of those things for you, because it takes both to work equally well for a restaurant to be successful. And I think, again, a lot of restaurants are started on the sort of, on passion and, a lot of enthusiasm.
Not able to catch up.
Sorry?
Not able to keep up with.
No, I think
passion.
that the passion often, supersedes the practicality. And, so at some point, when reality sort of starts kicking in, the first thing, you can't renegotiate with your landlord. You can't have less than, a minimum number of staff. Where do you start cutting corners, right? It's on your food costs. That's the one thing that you have flexibility with. Everything else is pretty much, set in stone. And that's when things start going downhill, because, you start cutting corners. So I've seen this happen a number of times, and like clockwork almost. And, I always say, yes, of course, finding a business partner can be a challenge, but I always say, go work in a restaurant, go and spend time. A lot of people want to come out of culinary school. I mean, the flip side of people going into culinary school and, getting that professional training is that they come out and they're ready to open a restaurant. And I think that it's important to spend time working and taking advantage of someone else's mistakes in a way to learn, as much as you can before you embark on your own.
As someone in the food business, both of you are, in the food scene for so long, what is that one trend or one trend you felt that in India it was really not needed in terms of food?
Fusion. Like a lot of chefs have said it before, and I think they should continue to say it. Fusion.
What about molecular gastronomy, which was...
Thankfully, it came and went. So molecular gastronomy, to me, was making a plate look pretty. But the minute you're trying to say that, at least for me, it doesn't work. When you try to say, I'm substituting, say, a tamarind with a tamarind foam, I would rather have the real deal than the foam. So, yeah. So molecular gastronomy had its place at one point, but I think everything evolves, and that should be left behind right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say molecular gastronomy, which is, I guess, similar. It's, it's like, I don't want my food coming on a truck, or like, I don't know, like looking like a grape and being something completely different. I just want to, I mean, I think sometimes the gimmicks don't sort of, do justice to the meal, and it's.
But with fusion, I think some of the foods like sometime back I'd never imagined that in my life. I had a cocktail made with bamboo shoot, which is by a Naga chef in Goa. These are some fusions, I think, which can also bring some ingredients, lesser known ingredients, lesser known foods outside, because making people eat bamboo shoot on an average is not an easy thing. So is there like a balance?
That balance entirely lies with the chef and him or her understanding their audience really well. When you say fusion, taking something very intrinsic to one region and trying to merge it with something familiar in another region, there's a very fine line between that working and not working at all. There is a lot of experimentation that has to take place, and it has to really work. And in the end, it may work for the chef, it just may not work for the audience as well. So it's very subjective at the end of the day. Having a lot going on with it can cause a lot of problems. It can cause the product to be rejected completely.
Yeah, for the life of me, I would never want to have another cocktail which is made with fish, dry fish. But people are loving it.
I would like to try that one for sure. So the first time I interviewed a French chef, this was maybe say 20 years ago, and when I asked him what would be your, that time it was the age of cliched questions, what's your favorite dessert, what's your favorite, and he said my favorite dessert would be a salmon souffle, and for the life of, and he said it's going to be a sweet one, and I couldn't wrap my head around it at all. But then if you look at it now, we have in India, within our own cultures, we have halwas made of onion. Yeah. We have garlic halwas. We have so many savory ingredients that are brought into the
There's a very good payasam that is made with onion in Hyderabad.
Absolutely. So you have all of this. I think it's just about knowing what is out there and being open to trying and accepting something new that is there.
What about Gauri? How experimental are you with food?
I'm not. I like to sort of see what I'm eating and eat what I'm seeing, kind of thing. I'm old school that way, maybe. I like sort of, I also don't like it when I'm having a meal and there's too much information being given to me about every dish. I think the food needs to speak for itself, and it's not, going to a restaurant is not just about the food. If you're with people, it's about the company, it's about a lot of things, and I think, sometimes, I mean, I'm going to say chefs, and I'm probably going to be very unpopular for saying this, but I think sometimes as a non-chef, I can say this, that chefs tend to get carried away with thinking that it's all about, them and what they're producing. But actually, going to a restaurant is about many different things. And, I mean, that's what I sort of, so going back to your question, I like to kind of be allowed to enjoy my food and to experience it the way I want and to discover, the dish on my own terms and not be sort of lectured about it.
So what can we expect at the table?
What can you expect at the table? I mean, you have to come and try it. It's very, it's ingredient-driven cuisine. And when we introduced this idea, 14 years ago, everyone was like, but what's the cuisine? And I'm like, there's no cuisine. It's about the ingredients and presenting them in the best possible way. And back then, we were used to Indian, Italian, Chinese. That was the cuisines everyone knew. And so they wanted to really put it into this bucket. And we've never been that. We've really been about great produce, or great sort of meats or seafood. And we're not even, yes, we're in Bombay, so we have fantastic seafood at our doorstep. Maybe not so much with the meats. And so we've never tried to say that it's 100% local, because if you can't get, something in its best form locally, it's okay to use something that's, produced better elsewhere. So I think it's about using really great ingredients and presenting them in a way where the ingredient is the hero, and not, putting sort of too much, flavor,
Making it
I
look
guess.
like a jungle.
Yeah, just sort of letting the ingredients speak for themselves and shine. And my husband used to live in San Francisco, so it's very much a Californian style of cooking, which is that, they have access to the best ingredients. But it's really, it's very much inspired by that. It's light, flavorful, and ingredient driven. I think that's what you can expect when you come. And everything's really freshly made. It's, our pastas are made in-house. If you order fries, you're not going to get Heinz ketchup. You're going to get a ketchup that's made in-house. So it's really about trying to give you the best and freshest of whatever you're eating, whether it's something that we've made or whether it's something that's been harvested. And we do have a farm across the bay where we get a lot of our produce, obviously not everything. But
also do farm visits,
yes,
right?
Yes, so we started taking people out because about 10 years ago, this whole idea of farm to table became very trendy. And, we were kind of doing it without sort of making much noise about it. And then, we said, let people come out and see what's happening there. And, there's this conception that, oh, I'm eating a salad, like it's just leaves. Why does it have to cost so much? And when you come out and you understand what goes into, growing great quality produce, not using chemicals, harvesting it, cleaning it, and then putting it on. So we actually made people do that. We would make them...
the guests, you mean?
Yes. So they would come to the farm and they would actually be making the beds, planting, harvesting. And it was almost like, a way to make them appreciate what they were eating and that it wasn't just a bunch of leaves on a plate. And I think that's sort of opened people's minds up a little bit to appreciating what, goes into putting that food on the table. So
a very popular actor and Telugu actor, Sidhu Jonalgadda, is trying to now say, why do you want to do farm to table? Give me pan to plate. So
isn't that essentially what all food in a restaurant
no,
is?
But farm to table, apparently he said the food is getting cold while they come and things like that. So it's like, give me pan to plate. But pan to plate is, I think, you really need to have everything right next to your table. Will that be possible someday? Some setup of that sort?
I hope not, because I think that, there's some beauty in letting things happen in their natural, environment and, sort of appreciating that it may have come from
also
far.
the smoke and the, everything will be all on your face, on your clothes.
Yeah, and I think that's sounding more and more like a lab, which I'm not a big fan of. So, no, I hope things come from a little far away.
But I do think a lot of restaurants have smaller sets of their menu that can be done at the table, whether it's a cocktail or whether it's like, maybe just
These days desserts are being done.
Desserts are done at your table where you can just take your blowtorch and do a creme brulee at the table, or you can fry an appam at the table. But imagine having a restaurant and having 15 of these carts all around you bumping into each other. It kind of maybe takes away from the entire experience. Bangalore has the space to do it. I come from Bangalore where restaurants are like 1,500 seaters.
We also have.
So, but I think Bombay will not be able to do that at all.
We have more than that.
Yeah, I mean, we can go competing on that. It always amazes me how they manage to run places that big. So, yeah.
One thing people say to me when they come to the farm or they hear about the farm, they're like, but you get all your vegetables for free. So, like, why are you, charging so much? And I'm like, no, actually, it's even more effort and cost to manage a farm and to manage getting ingredients sort of a certain quality. So I think that it's not something that can just be sort of, plucked and put into a different format. There's a reason, things happen the way they do in their natural environment.
As again, food enthusiast, is it, whenever you visit a new city, is what to try first on your itinerary, or I want to chill and let me just take it slowly?
So my itinerary is built around where to eat and what time to eat. So I can do like 5-6 meals a day. Even if it's tiny meals, I try and make sure. Yes. I do get that question often, but yeah.
You won't believe her, but you'll believe me if I say that.
But yeah, I do all of my research as far as possible, ask as many people as I can, try as much as I can. Not always do I succeed in doing everything, but at least, just get a hint of the place. So I try and do breakfast, lunch, dinner, a snack in between, a late night meal where possible. And I like to visit cities in two ways. One is to do everything that's on the touristy circuit to knock that off and understand what it is that makes people so interested in that food. And then to find out the lesser known places. Like maybe go for a food walk or maybe just wander out and find a place that looks bustling and enter and just see what it has to offer.
Do you go by Instagram or any social media suggestions? Because it has failed me many times.
Social media has definitely failed me, but what it has done is put certain places on my radar. So I never go on the basis of so-and-so influencer said this place is great, because as far as I see it, I see more of the influencer than I see the food. So I'd rather just find out what the food is about. I will research the place, see if I'd like to do something like that. And so I have my A list, B list, C list. Let's see how I can knock things off. I have that in the way I approach food when I'm traveling.
I'm sure Gauri must be already planned with all the menu and list of places to go whenever you visit.
No, I do, but I go by locals. So I troubled you as well. But, I think if I know someone local, or if I don't, I use Instagram to say, someone local, help me out here. So that's what I usually go by. I mean, of course, Instagram helps with, the becoming aware of places, but the real sort of recommendations are from the locals.
I usually put out a call on Instagram saying that I'm visiting this city, what would you recommend if you were taking a family member? And I've usually got some really good suggestions that way.
So what is the right questions that you ask and we fail?
Where would you take a person if they were visiting your city for the first time?
Okay.
And usually it's a place that's not on anyone's radar, that's not on Instagram, or it's one of those really legendary places which everyone knows about, but they know what to order on that menu, because not every legendary place you should order everything.
So I was in Chennai recently, and I had someone sort of local show me around. And then I went to an event later that evening which had a lot of people from Chennai present. And I was like, today I had this amazing biryani from, and I can't remember the name right now, but it's this gentleman wears lots of gold jewelry. I don't know if you know about this. And he only does this one biryani. And then we went to this other place which did this halwa that was just outstanding. And I was talking about this to a few of the Chennai people, and they'd never heard of them. And, so I think sometimes you end up as an outsider experiencing a city like even, the locals maybe don't. So that's the beauty of travel sometimes.
Yeah, but then also sometimes, I totally agree, sometimes you end up discovering a place and then the locals will say, oh, we didn't know about it. And I'm sure Hyderabad will have a lot of such places for you both. You have only a few hours. And anything that regards to food or, the joy of food, anything regards to joy of food, what is that one thought that you always have when somebody mentions just food? Is it, oh, let me just, let's just see what's there, or will I get to learn something new? Or will I get to learn something, new about it?
So for me, that works on multiple layers. The joy of food for me means different things at different times. When I'm working, it is about finding out more about the food, more about the chef, the whole process of getting the food to the plate. That is when I'm in work mode. When I'm in discovery mode, when I'm traveling, it is all about finding out what the locals love, where can I get a great meal. Not necessarily a great meal has to be an expensive one. So for me, that is the joy of discovery comes there. Say when I am traveling abroad and I come back home, and especially when you go to Europe side, and I'll eat a lot in Europe, but the first thing I do when I come home is I want to have that one nice spicy biryani or one nice shawarma with a pickled chili in it. For me, that is the joy of coming back home, and that's the joy of food. When I'm sick, the joy of food is having just a steamed rice with a pickle so that I can feel some flavor in my mouth. So I think the joy of food for me works on multiple levels in different situations and for different personas.
Totally agree. What about you?
I think for me, look, I love food. I love trying new things. But I think for me, the biggest joy of this food experience that I've been through for the last 15 years has been the people I've met. Whether it's people I've met at the restaurant, like diners, chefs, people serving us in restaurants who've gone on to become friends. It's the people that I've come across because of food has been, I think, the most sort of enriching or gratifying part of it for me, because that sort of stays on even long after the meal.
Oh, and if I can add one more, because I love to cook as well, just discovering the variety of food we have in India, the diversity that we have. So I've instituted this system at home where we cook at least one meal a week is cooked from a different state. We keep the basic ingredients of what we normally eat, but try and cook it in the way of another state. So far we have got through around 9 states this year. And it's been a journey of discovery that something we eat this way is eaten some totally different another way. And one of the examples is the patrade, or it's called the arbi and patrod or patod. There's so many versions of it. And just cooking that alone in 9 different ways has been an amazing experience. So that's another joy of food for me.
I think, like Gauri said, we can continue discussions till the cows come back home. We'll have to close. We are opening questions now. Anything about food interesting, not boring, not specific to biryani?
I can't hear you.
Hi. Since Ruth ma'am talked about diversity, I believe India have diversity not only among the people, but also among the food. But today we are experiencing a great phase of westernization and McDonaldization of food habits.
Sorry,
why we are unable to influence Western countries with our food.
Can you hold the mic a little closer? Can't hear you very clearly.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah, better.
My question is, why India is unable to influence Western countries with regard to its food culture?
I think we're doing
like
a pretty...
McDonald's.
You want Indian food to go the McDonald's way abroad?
Yeah.
I think we're better than a McDonald's, so I don't think we should go that way abroad. We still have made a huge impact. If you look at some of the top chefs of the world, Vikas Khanna just got the Michelin Bib Gourmand Award. He has taken our food places. For a city like New York, which is considered the most cosmopolitan possibly in the world, for them to have an Alapi fish curry, for them to eat something from a regional part of India, I think we are putting ourselves on the map. Our diversity possibly works against us because we just have so much to offer. How do we take all of it out into the world? We need more of our chefs going out there, more of our people going and, holding the flag for our food out there, and not just making it about curries and spice, but much more than that.
Not just curries.
But having said that, the fact is that anyone around the world knows butter chicken, right? Yeah. So even if it's not representative of our food, obviously something's gone viral enough for people to know about it. Everything, and you have the Kathi roll, New York, in the Kathi roll stands at every corner. So I think our food's there. It may not have the branding of a McDonald's yet, but I think we'll get there.
Thank you.
This crowd doesn't eat?
Possibly they're waiting for the high tea after this.
Hello. Good evening, Mom. I just wanted to ask one question. So you've justified the high cost that comes along with fine dining, bringing delicious, unique cuisine, saying that the effort that goes into the dishes are worth the prices put on them. I do not deny the statement, but at the same time, I believe that the joy of food you talk about would then be limited to the wealthy, the rich, and it would be out of reach of the commoners who cannot afford to spend thousands on one dinner. Well, I do not say at the same time that the commoners would not be feeling the joy of food, but I just want to ask, why does a diverse movement such as food have to be so limited?
Okay, can I see you? So I have one opinion on this, and then Gauri can take it perhaps from the restaurant perspective. But when you say price determines the joy of food, and is that your question? Why shouldn't Pani Puri and paying 20 rupees for it works just as good as paying, 8,000 rupees for a 8-course meal?
Yeah, I don't think it's not, like I said earlier, it's not just the food that's driving the price. It's an entire experience, and often with fine dining, you're paying for the space that the location you're at, like I mentioned, for example, a restaurant I was at, last weekend, which is up in the hills, and it's a fine dining restaurant. And one of the reasons it's priced what it is because it costs a lot to take people from, different parts of the country, accommodate them, get them to come to, a remote place and offer that experience. So I don't think it's only the food that's driving prices that are, associated with a premium experience. There's a lot that goes into a restaurant, and that's kind of what the book tries to sort of highlight as well. And I don't think that cheap food or food that's inexpensive is not going to bring joy. I mean, exactly what you said, your golgappa wala, your pani puri, or anything, your vada pav. I mean, if you come to Bombay, the vada pav is like a staple. Your bun maska. These are things that bring immense joy to people, and they're very inexpensive. So I think it's, different sort of experiences at different price points, and everyone at some point should hopefully get to experience all of that.
Thank you, Mom.
Oh, and trust us, we've had our fair share of paying money for, food we don't think is worth it as well.
Yeah, enjoying food has a lot to do with the sense of smell. And post-COVID, I think a lot of people have been experiencing problems in this area. Is there any work being done to enhance the food experience of such people?
Is that an issue that you have seen come up? Honestly, to me, it hasn't. I had COVID twice, and my sense of smell was not affected. But anyone who had, that I know of, their sense of smell did recover pretty much.
Okay.
So I'm not very sure if something is being done specifically for it.
Okay.
But I think aromas in general, across food groups, a lot is being done. Whether it's food, there's a lot in the final part of it, whether they come to the table and, spritz one final, a lemon spray over something. Or even for your cocktails nowadays, you have sprays that go around the glass.
Fragrances.
Everything to enhance aroma, whether it's smoking something at the table. There's a lot that's being done from the aroma perspective. So it's there. Specifically COVID related, I'm not very sure.
We'll bring this tasty discussion to an end and join us for high
Thank
tea,
you very much, Ruth and Gauri and Prabalika, for moderating this very wholesome and diverse discussion on the joy of food. Thank you so much. Prabalika, can we just request you to present mementos to the speakers? As we conclude this evening, we'd like to take a moment to please thank the Christ University Bangalore and the Crossword Bookstore for coming on board, without whom this event would not have been possible. A big thank you to our speakers, moderators, and of course to all of you, Hyderabad audience, for being an integral part of the Hindu Lit for Life dialogue. Thank you so much. We will now have the book signing. It will happen on the stage. I request those of you who haven't purchased your books to head to the Crossword Bookstore, which is located at the farthest end of this hall. Get your books. That's right. So I'm going to invite the authors to please come up on stage for the book signing. We also invite you to join us for high tea and continue the conversations informally. Sure. May I invite on stage Ms. Rajdeep Sardesai, Ms. Neerja Chowdhury, Ms. Gauri Devidayal, and Ruth DSouza, please. Are we ready?